Welcome back to the channel. It's Martin here, and for those who don't know me, I'm a type 1 diabetes coach here to help you improve A1Cs, have normal blood sugar levels so you can avoid diabetic complications and also live a more confident life as a type 1 diabetic. And I wanted to make a very special video talking about nutrition and type 1 diabetes, how to eat as a type 1 diabetic. And I feel like this is extremely important. Okay, because the way you eat is going to determine how easy or how difficult it will be to manage type 1 diabetes. And I'm going to be completely honest with you, there's no one size fits all when it comes to eating and type 1 diabetes. You have to find something that fits your lifestyle. You have to find something that works good for you. And it's not just a diet. This is a long-term thing. Diabetes is not going anywhere for us. So we have to understand nutrition, how to eat in order for us to be able to have these good sugar levels, normal sugar levels, so we can avoid diabetic complications. And food, it's gonna either make it difficult or hard. And in this video, I'm gonna talk to you all about nutrition and everything that you need to know to understand. And I'm gonna give you fundamental facts here. I'm not gonna come and hit you with some gibberish, things that don't work. I'm gonna give you practical things that actually work, that I'm using. I'm gonna give you the knowledge that I have because I want you to have normal blood sugar levels. And I know if you understand nutrition like I do, type 1 diabetes will be much easier for you. So let me start out by giving you a little bit of background of my story when it came to nutrition and type 1 diabetes. I was someone, when I got newly diagnosed, they literally gave me insulin, and they kind of say, okay, well, your carb to insulin ratio is around 15-1, you know, and they said, eat whatever you want. You just have to make sure you carb count and give yourself the amount of insulin and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Garbage information. It was horrible because what would happen, and I was into health a little bit before, fitness and health before I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, so I had some knowledge about nutrition. What I would do is I would carb count. Okay, there's 30 grams of carbs. That's 2 units of insulin. I would give myself 2 units of insulin, and all of a sudden I would have this spike, and then 4 hours later I would come crashing down, and my life was consisted of roller coaster sugar levels. And I would eat, and for me, eating became difficult. I would sit in front of my meal, and I would be there for 20 minutes trying to figure out, okay, how much insulin do I give myself? And I was extremely scared of insulin. I was paranoid of giving myself short acting because I was so scared of lows. And eating for me became a hassle, and I used to love eating. I used to enjoy eating so much, and it got to the point that I got so depressed I didn't even want to eat. It was like bad. I avoided food, and I just didn't understand it, and it was always a negative emotion when it came down to eating food because it was just me against insulin and all that. So I know the difficulty when it comes to not understanding the nutrition fundamentals, and I want to make things very clear for you. Okay, that's why I'm making this video. Nutrition plays such a vital role in the way we manage type 1 diabetes. I believe insulin is not the only medicine. I believe insulin is our medicine, food is our medicine, and exercise is also our medicine. So we have to use, and it's a holistic way of seeing it, but we have to use food in order to help us, and we have to understand food in order for us to understand how to manage blood sugar levels and keep them stable so we can avoid diabetic complications. But also we don't have to deal with these constant roller coaster sugar levels. So I was able to stabilize my sugar levels to the point that every time I eat, for me, it's easy now. I know exactly what I need to do. I know exactly how the food is going to affect me, and I'm always stable. For the most part, I like to say I'm like 95% always in range. I don't have a CGM. I do finger pricks, but I track my sugar levels. For the most part, my sugar levels are always stable, and food for me plays a big role in everything. And I want to get you there. I want to get you to a point where you can have stability in your sugar levels. You can eat whatever you want. You don't have this negative relationship between you, food, and type 1 diabetes. And before you can build that good relationship, you have to understand food, and you have to understand the fundamentals. And I'm going to talk to you about the fundamentals right now. And you're probably like, I know the fundamentals. I know carbs. I know protein. I know fats. But I'm going to explain to you something, okay? I'm going to explain to you how protein breaks down in your bloodstream, how fats break down in your bloodstream, and how carbs break down in your bloodstream. Because once you understand the basics of how it breaks down in your bloodstream, you're going to know what you're expecting when it comes to managing sugar levels. You're going to be expecting a spike if you eat a certain food. You're going to be expecting certain things. Now, for the most part, okay, I might put a graph here if I find it online, but the way it works, right? When you eat food, it's broken down into protein, fats, and carbohydrates. Okay, so now when you eat carbs, carbs just spike your sugar level really fast. That's how carbs break down in your bloodstream. So they spike you really fast. Now, protein still spikes you, but it takes a little longer, okay? And fats also spike you, but it's very minimal, and it stays the whole, it drags. Now, you understanding this principle, now you can kind of start seeing why certain things happen when you eat certain foods. So for example, if you eat a piece of bread, you eat a sandwich, expect your sugar level to spike and then come down. Now, to make things even more practical, all right, I'm gonna give you literally a cheat code. If you're having trouble with sugar level fluctuations, you feel like you're on a constant roller coaster, I guarantee that if you cut out the carbs or minimize the carbs or eat lower on carbs, it's gonna be way easier to manage your type 1 diabetes because the law of small numbers. You know, those carbs are what making things hard. So if even you eat the protein and the fats, you're gonna see how much more stable your lines are gonna be just because of how the food actually breaks down in your system. Okay, so now that you understand the fundamentals, you have to realize that there is no, it's like when people talk about carb counting and you gotta, there's no way that, first of all, everybody's body's different, so ratios are always different. So maybe something that works for someone, it doesn't work for somebody else because their body doesn't process it. Also, it determines on someone's weight, on how long they had type 1 diabetes. Also, it's determined on their basal, their long-acting insulin, is that dialed in? So now, this is why carb counting in a way does not work, because there's so many factors. And at the end of the day, what's very, very important above carb counting is tracking your meals. And I'm gonna explain to you why. If you're a type 1 diabetic and you track your meals, you're constantly trying to hit a target, right? You're trying to hit the target of giving yourself the right amount of insulin and managing the spike. All right, so now if you track your meals instead of doing carb counting, okay, let's say you eat the same meal for 7 days straight. Let's just pretend you eat the same meal 7 days straight. And the meal could have carbs, the meal could have whatever you want the meal to be, right? Let's say for those 7 days you track that meal, and every single day when you track, okay, you say the first day you did 5 units of insulin, okay, you realize that you went high. The next day you did 6 units of insulin, you realize you're still going high. The next day you did 10 units of insulin for that same meal, you realize, okay, boom, you had a severe low. The next day you do 8 units of insulin and you realize that it stayed stable. Then the following day you do 8 units of insulin and you realize it stayed stable. And that way you can start getting an idea of how much insulin it requires to actually manage that meal. That's why carb counting in a way it doesn't work, because I need to inject, I eat low carb. I'm a very low carb. I don't eat any carbs high in glycemic index. And even if I'm eating no carbs in a meal, I'm still injecting myself 1 to 3 units with no carbs. And again, I learned this, I realized this through tracking, through understanding how my body processes those foods. So now that you have an understanding of how carbs break down, how fats break down, how protein break down, then you now have an understanding of how to actually go about food. So you track everything. Carb counting doesn't work, just track the meal, and then you get better at eating that same meal, and you can nail it and nail it and nail it to the point that when you're there, you're not worrying about, okay, how much insulin do I need? Am I gonna go low? Am I gonna go high? You know, it's gonna be more visual. You're gonna have a more understanding. Now, if you want to improve very fast the control and the stability you have over your blood sugar levels, go lower on carbs. It's gonna make a huge difference. It's like doing diabetes on training wheels. Personally, I eat low carb just because of the stability and the effortlessness it takes for me to manage this disease is because of the way I eat, the low carb. So try it out for yourself. And I'm gonna, this is a more fun a foundation video. I'm gonna make more videos on this. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Give me a comment, subscribe. I appreciate you. If you're following me on this journey, I'm here to help you as well. I'm wishing you all the best. And yeah, let's get ready for more of these kind of videos. And let's take back control of something that belongs to us, and that's our health.